and I'm here today to cook with you. I am bringing you a recipe with some pantry stable items, and this is also a recipe that we bring to our 4th and 5th graders in the local area who participate in a program called Healthy Cooking in the Classroom. The recipe I have here is one that the students selected as their very favorite last year, and it's called tuna stir fry. So I'm bringing it to you for a couple reasons: to let you know what our young students are doing with healthy cooking in the classroom, and to offer you an option to add to your recipe repertoire with some pretty easy items that you might just find right in your fridge and pantry right now. So to get started, we are going to spray our pan with cooking spray. And our first step here is going to be to add some sliced onion and garlic. So we're going to coat that pan well first. And I have a small onion here. I like to use the small onions that you can get in a 3 or 5 pound bag over the individual large onions that are in the bins at the grocery store. There's usually less waste and they're easier to work with. So I'm just slicing through a white onion. I'm gonna leave them sliced and then toss them right into the pan here, separating them as they go in. These are gonna be nice bite-sized pieces when our stir fry is all put together. We can just go in the pan as we go. A couple more slices. And I break some apart. They'll break apart as we construct our stir fry, pushing things around with our spatula. And then the other ingredient we're going to add right now is a clove of garlic. I did press my own clove here. If you have jarred garlic in your refrigerator, a teaspoon of garlic is just what you need. So we're going to add that next. And now we're going to start the stir fry. So I'm going to make sure that I get the onions coated with that little bit of cooking spray, spread things around a little bit. But basically we're just going to let this cook for a little while we prepare a very simple 3-ingredient sauce. What we have here is going to be 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. If you're gluten intolerant, you might opt for something called coconut aminos, and that would work just fine. This recipe would be extremely gluten friendly. And then we'll talk a little bit about what you might have your stir fry over at the end. And that's where you can alter and make those other options to really complete the meal as a gluten-free meal. We're gonna juice half a lemon. And again, if you've got lemon juice in your refrigerator, a tablespoon of lemon juice would work out just fine. And then our last ingredient is just a little sweetness. We're going to add some honey, just a teaspoon of honey. So that's it. Very simple 3-ingredient sauce that we'll use with this stir fry once we get a few more things in the pot. I'm really trying to sense and feel for that denseness of the honey in there to really break it down with the other ingredients and get it well combined. I think I got it pretty good. Let's get back to these onions and the garlic. Got to keep your eye on that garlic. It's got a higher sugar content, so it can brown pretty quickly. And we want to just keep pushing that all around with these onions. So I mentioned pantry items. I mentioned things that might be in your freezer. I've got a bag of frozen vegetables, just your regular 16-ounce bag. If you've got the stir-fry vegetables, if you have any vegetable combination, you can use whatever you've got in your freezer with this. So today it looks like I've got carrots and broccoli and cauliflower. We're gonna toss those in the pan. and get everything nice and even in the pan so everything starts to cook at the same rate. Our onions are starting to get a little more translucent, and we're getting that garlic incorporated with everything around it, so we get a good spread of the flavor. While this cooks a little bit, let's open our tuna. Sometimes you gotta catch it. I have a little claw on this manual can opener. Helps me take off the lid, and I don't have those sharp edges. I am going to drain my tuna. I've got a strainer here in the sink. I'm going to let that just drain for a few minutes and go back to our stir fry. So the next step here is we're going to add the sauce, and that's going to help with the cooking. Got a little sugar in that sauce. Our vegetables are getting nice and tender crisp. So let's do that. You'll just want to drizzle that over. Whoop. Missed a little. And get those vegetables coated. We're keeping our high heat. Again, this is a stir fry, so we're looking for those tender, crisp vegetables, bright colors. That's going to tell us when our dish is ready. And I'm spreading these vegetables out nice and even across the base of the pan. Now we'll let that just kind of sit for a moment. We'll check on the tuna, which I think is pretty well ready. I'm going to use a fork and just kind of break it apart a little bit, getting out as much of the water as I can, because the frozen vegetables, depending on how long your bag of frozen vegetables has been in your freezer, there could be a bit of added moisture. We don't want our stir fry to get too wet, so getting as much of the water content out of the tuna is a good idea. Add that. Back to tossing this all together. This is how quick this dish comes together. When you have the ingredients on hand like this, it's a quick 10-minute deal. So we were going to talk a little bit about what you could serve your stir fry over. And certainly rice is a great option. If you wanted to try something a little different and a whole grain brown rice, that's another great option, and that's also something you can find in a quick cooking option now. If you're watching your carbohydrates and you want to bring the carbohydrates and the sugars down a little bit, a wonderful new option would be cauliflower rice, which is also available in freezer bags, and you can pop that right into the microwave as well. So all of those are great options. If you're not quite sure and you want to try something new, go ahead and try the cauliflower rice, but then also make some of the instant white rice and then combine the two, and that would cut down by about 50% your carbohydrates. Just a nice way to modify something without going full board. We are just about there. Our onions are cooked. We've got the tender crisp vegetables, and our tuna is incorporated here too. So at this point, I just threw one of those bags of rice or the cauliflower rice in the microwave, dish up the cauliflower rice with the stir fry. You've got a perfect meal, you've got a perfect lunch. If you're a small household, you've got something here that typically serves 4, and you could pre-package that for a couple lunch or dinner options throughout the week. This is a great option with some pretty typical routine ingredients right from your pantry, right from your freezer. Thank you for cooking with me. My name is Nicole. I'm from Family Wellness.